Twimbit is a platform where the world discovers and shapes research. And in other words, we are very much a tech-first research firm, which is a fun fact, by the way, for me at least, was actually a term I coined myself. It means I made that word after some serious corporate profile building. But really, all credits goes to my tech team for truly making technology the core of our business. You see, as a strategist, I operate, in the business side of things. That really means that I translate the client and partners' needs, to our tech team to make compelling solutions on our platform. And this has been going really well, I would say that. From when I first joined the company 24 months ago to what we are now, I would say that the pace of the evolution itself is immensely fast, right? But, things are moving fast, things are going great, but I found myself, wanting to know more, right? Wanting to know how the whole platform operates, how the technology is. I just want to deep dive right into it. And I asked myself, who's better to ask than my two other co-workers, Aman and Pasi, which is also, the co-founder of the company. In fact, Pasi was the one that interviewed me and how I got the job, honestly. So, but anyway, that aside, I want to know, in this conversation, how the platform is being powered and how it really, really works. So if you love research, has an obsession for technology, curious enough to learn a company is enroute to challenge the multi-billion-dollar research industry, sit back, listen in to another episode of Twimbit Tales. Welcome, guys. The two least kept secret of Twimbit. Aman, the CTO, Pasi, the COO, crafter of Twimbit platform, right? Before I go on giving you guys great labels, great titles, how about introduce yourself? Aman, you can go first.
Well, as you said, I'm co-founder at Twimbit and also Chief Technology Officer. And I don't know, I was interviewed or not, but maybe it's Pasi's hidden style of interviewing and selecting talents. But I feel really great. At first, I didn't understand what this old fellows are actually trying to do, research and all. I don't care. I want to create apps, make the world a fun place and all. And they were dragging me into making website and upload PDFs and all. So that's the hidden story, and that's a personal itch that I started with, and then it ended up making a solution that would be loved by not just by me, but other millions of people as well.
Perfect.
So that's my story.
You and me, I thought we were making websites. But anyway, Pasi, tell the world who you are.
Thanks, Jess and Aman. I think you've already introduced me, so I don't need to go back to that. At least you guys knew that we are doing websites for few months after we started. Both me and Manoj, we were lost what we are doing, But one thing was very clear. Our motto was to bring the best of human ingenuity and technology together, and use the power of that convergence to really make a long-lasting impact, right? And we have the thing which gives me a lot of satisfaction and pleasure is that we've been able to stick to that core of bringing both these elements together through the entire journey so far.
Yeah, I agree. After so many months, I think we've been going from, building a website to now really building a platform for research to disseminate, to publish, to get people to collaborate. Technology has always been the core of our business, right? And no matter where, when, how the tide goes, we always stay true to that core. So, for the people who are first listening in, people who are learning more about Twimbit, could you first let me know, the tech-first research firm, what does this really mean to us?
Yeah, if I have to sum it up, I think it will be 3 points which really define a tech-first approach. Yeah. First is that technology itself has to be built in a way that it's resilient. What does that mean? That any changes in the external environment, whether it's a change in customer needs, customer behavior, change in the environment, change in the internal environment around the workforce, anything, right? The technology has to be able to adapt to it. And that is one thing what Aman and the team has done so well in making it, a very adaptive stack. And Aman can dig deeper into that. So having a resilient technology. Secondly, technology has to be inclusive. That is something which we've been talking about from the very inception. Tech inclusivity is all about where people who are building that tech and people who are using that tech believe it is to improve their life, believe that it is something which resonates with their own vision, right? So that inclusivity has to be there throughout. And then thirdly, it's about being service oriented. Technology has to be built in a way where, whether it's your internal customer, your external customer, it makes it simple, it makes it easy to really serve everyone in real time, right? And that is the path that we are on. And if we are able to achieve these three principles of a resilient, inclusive, and service-oriented technology, I think we would have killed it.
I love it. I really think that this is the way to go, and it's something that we've been pitching to our partners, to our clients on the business side of things. But I want to hear from you, like in the technology part, how are we realizing these three pillars, and how are we really driving it through technology with it?
Yeah. So, well, as continuing from the same words, where Pasi left actually, my goal when I was, learning engineering or computer science or programming or coding, multitudes of things so far that I have touched based on to, make myself eligible to say that I can provide solutions. So when I was learning these things, I wasn't like kind of learning them for the sake of getting a paper degree or I could get a job or something. I was always learning. I had always a quest that I have to solve some kind of problem, and then reverse track what engineering or what maths or what coding is required to actually solve it. My learning journey has always been like this, and then grades and everything just followed along. So I think what we are doing in tech, it's the same ancestral hierarchy that we have put on in our tech team as well. So we kind of always think what is the solution we want to achieve, rather thinking about the engineering or the technology aspect first. So it's kind of the same. I'm bringing the same culture from my side. I don't push the team to actually learn this thing and then we'll figure out what we'll create out of it. It's always the other way around, that we have to solve this challenge. And trust me, some of the solutions that we have found in Twimbit are so novel that there is no documentation for it. There is no example projects for it. They are completely built for the first time in such a combination. So it's very important that the team and I understand it from a solution perspective first, and then backtrace it to what engineering or technology is actually required. So along the way, we have discovered various tools that haven't been applied to research paradigm ever. And they were used in other companies as well at different scales or different use cases, but it has never been happening in the research level at such a scale that we are actually using them. And then another thing is that always we are like, whatever solution, whatever problems we are trying to solve, it's evident that these problems don't exist. They didn't existed 5 years ago, so there were no technical solutions to it. So as we encounter them, we build some solutions from ground up, from the way along. And then the team is very supportive. They have a learning attitude. Pasi and other people, other leadership in the team always support this learning attitude. So there is always that hunger of quest of solving more and more problems. And then along the way, learning something new, creating something new that can be used by other humankind as well.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think the tools, like for example, you say that a lot of what we are introducing onto Twimbit is very novel technology. We could put it that way. Is that things that people have not tried? And in fact, I remember coming to you and I was telling you that, hey, Aman, like what our clients or partners are really looking for is a plethora of content, and we were thinking about or how do we onboard, perhaps other people onto our platform? And then you told us that, like, hey, how about we consider, aggregation in a research context? And honestly, for the first 2 days, I really didn't get what you mean, right? So I think today I get what you mean. That's the good part. But I want to know, like, what's the inspiration behind this? And also, how are you realizing, like, how is the company realizing this in more of the technology aspect?
Right. Pasi, you want to take that?
Oh, go ahead, man.
Yeah.
I can add, and then you can add the technical aspect to this, Aman. I would say just see, it has to be driven by the intent of creating a human experience, right? The role of any capability or any feature on the platform is ultimately to enhance the human potential and the business potential, right? So in that way, when you talk about aggregation, and if we look at our own personal experiences with research, you are a consumer of research, we all are, millions of people around the world are. And when we go and search for something, we have to go through many, many different links, many, many different sources just to find the right contextual information, right? And it ends up being so inefficient for people, so time consuming, and yet so far away from my actual need or my actual context, right? That is where Aman actually floated this idea first at the top of this year, where he said, hey man, why don't we break the walls of what we are trying to do and help the end customer by giving them everything they need in one place. So then, so their experience of consumption becomes better, and eventually the realization of their potential becomes better. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's same like putting an before Uber, you have to individually contact the taxi drivers, call them, and then book a ride. Or maybe there were some hyper local taxi providers, and every city you go new, you have to know a new number, call them, and then they bring the car. But with the oncoming of Uber, you just have one app, and wherever you go, whatever kind of service you want, it just arrives for you at the right time. So the same context we are applying in research. We are saying that the person doesn't needs to for really effective consumption of research, it firstly needs to be discovered very easily. A person needs to have a plethora of choices that he can choose from, what research he needs to actually discover. And that's where the aggregation part came into play. And when we started moving along, we found that it's a technical challenge. It has never been done before, and only system that is capable of doing that is Google search. So we have a architectural structure already available, but that architectural structure was fundamentally flawed with the advertisement, search engine optimization, and we didn't need those things. So we need to come up with a new way of how we can get the content, and then align them according to the persona of the user. So what happens now is that what we are building, that every user, whenever he logins, we are creating persona of every user, and based on this persona, we just get all the right research that he needs in just one feed. And that means, like, at some point we will be scrolling through millions of results for him and just bringing down it to 100 pieces of research that he actually needs. So that involves a lot of backend recommendations that we are using. And even for the aggregation side, it involves a lot of crawling we are doing. These days we are experimenting with a technology called as topic modeling, which is used to tag the content. It has been very successful in blogs, news, and tech, but it has never been done in research before. So it's very hard to identify a topic. Like, for example, if you are reading an insight or on a website like McKinsey, how could you identify if that is a COVID-19 related article, or it's a government or jurisdiction related article? So that identification is important, and then bringing it down to the last mile for the user so that he easily discovers and makes a fundamental decision based on that. So converting them into an engineering challenge is a very I mean a sophisticated one like a spaghetti noodle, right? You have one end of spaghetti noodle and you don't know what's the other end, but it just works in that way. Another problem that we identified that a lot of companies were focusing too much on digital transformation of their research platform. Some of these websites will already have it, but the barrier of entry is so high for them that people or they themselves has to suffer this chasm that exists between research and the user of research, right? So let's say there is an independent expert who know what research he has to write, what method he has right now. Either he has to join a big corporate company where he will publish his insights, or otherwise he'll publish it on LinkedIn or a blog platform. Now the first is, conveniently that has a high barrier of entry. The person needs to have very high credentials, and even if he joins, it would be mostly driven by what companies' agendas are and what clients are ready to sponsor, what research they are ready to sponsor, and stuff like that. And on the other way around, platforms like LinkedIn and other personal blogs are really flawed with the non-qualitative results, and it's mostly sometimes spammed as well. So we thought of, why not create a platform where these independent experts or small research houses can bring on to the same level of digital existence as other big companies, and Twimbit will index that content as well. So we brought the concept of expert partners and channel partners, where with just one single click, whatever we have developed for Twimbit, they can have for their own personal agency, or they can have them for their own experts. So it involves a lot of content development tools, tools to submit your podcast, do SEO very well, and then align it to know what interest user base you have and stuff like that. So that's a very interesting problem we are solving. But at the end, it's always about making the discovery of content very easy, writing very accurate content, and then making the whole journey of making decisions enjoyable.
Yeah, I truly think that that's where we're really going to. I think in between all of that, the really underlining word here is about creating an ecosystem. I think we can all agree that having an ecosystem is so important for us to connect the users, which was like being mentioned by you and Pasi both. The creators of research, it could be the enterprises, it could be the analysts, it could be any of us who are making the research, and also the influencers behind it. So we all know that to make this really, really successful as a platform, these three parties need to converge, right? And this has not been done before. Like people has always created a one-way conversation, like what Aman mentioned, right? So Pasi, I want to know from you, like, how are we enabling that, and how are we making sure that this ecosystem is really our priority when it comes to this platform?
The way I look at it, Jess, is I think this is a trend which is called digital twins. What does that mean? So in the years gone by, we always had simulators, right? Anything you want to see how it will work in the real world, let's simulate it. Whether it's a flight, whether it's any other execution element, right? Now, in this digital era, that simulation itself has to be brought down into the execution and operational implementation, right? That's at a higher level, which is what gives the end user that many more choices, which is what helps build a robust supply chain or an end-to-end value chain, however you want to look at it, right? Now, for these two use cases which you guys mentioned, that we are here to help the world discover and shape research. So the discovery part Aman touched upon a lot. We want to solve that problem where that discovery is not an issue and they're finding the right content at the right moment, all that stuff, right? Which is where Twimbit Originals, the aggregation plus expert content all play a role in fortifying that recommendation pipeline. On the other hand, now, to help the shapers and creators of research, right? It is about helping people bind their expression, first of all. Right now, there's a lot of people who are creators of research, and like any creator, whether it's a creator of food, creator of fashion, creator of toys, or creator of research, the underlying aspiration for every creator is to be connected with the right audience and to be able to deliver a valuable message. That's what every creator wants in this world. We had to enable that, right? So it's about how in the easiest fashion can we do that. So on the front end, okay, we will help them with microsites, which can be their own customized domain names, right? Whether it's jesse.com or jesse.twimbit.com or anything else that you want, where you can bring in all your content which is scattered around different platforms right now. You might have a few articles floating on LinkedIn, few on some other websites, few on some other platforms. And because of that, your audience is also scattered. Hey, why not bring everything to one house, under one roof, where you can deliver that content in a personalized fashion, in the formats which are easy to consume to your right audience, right? Where they have an opportunity to subscribe to you, where they have an opportunity to engage with you through events or forums or discussions, right? So all that on the front end, which is to bind that expression. And on the back end for these creators, it's about having that freedom and creativity to build research. So this is what Aman right now is focusing on, is updating the entire back-end infrastructure, which will make life a lot easier for anyone who wants to publish content here. And they don't have to be tech people to do that. That is why, we want to go down to that level where technology actually is democratized. Aman talked about his school days and, how he learned the initial ropes in tech. Hey, man, I never learned about tech. So what does that mean? Should I be excluded from the technology planet? Hell no. We have to democratize it so that even, a chump like me who has no idea about code, I can use the no code way, low code way, whatever, and get my entire ecosystem, which is nothing but a network of these digital twins, right? A mirror world, so to speak. And once we get this network going, the front end, back end, everything sorted, that's where it really starts touching people.
I think that's so true, because I think that's where the next question is going to lead us through. Because when I look at the platform, to me, it's like a simple, easy, very straightforward platform to use, right? But I know that there's so much behind the platform in the stack itself. And I think that's where I have a confession to make, guys, is that if you ask me, what is AWS tech stacks looks like, I'll probably tell you that I know more about that than the Twimbit tech stack. So, Aman, I really want to change that today. Like, explain to all your tech fanboys and tech fangirls out there, like, right, what is behind Twimbit right now?
Great. So, what I don't know the actual name of software developer, but there is a rule in technology that is called the 100 millisecond rules. You know what's the significance of 100 milliseconds?
No.
That's the time for how long your eyelid actually is closed when you blink. That is 100 milliseconds.
Ooh.
And that's exactly the scientific.
I'm gonna stare at you the whole time right now. I'm not gonna.
Try. It's about like if you just forget everything and you just blink at your pace. Of course, you're not trying to blink like Sleeping Beauty, right? Then it would be more than 100 milliseconds. But we have this rule in Twimbit, and what our aim is that every request, every interaction, every network call, every action should be less than 100 milliseconds. That's our benchmark. And whatever, there are some, actions, API calls, some, services that takes more than 100 milliseconds. And that's a death threat for our tech people. And that's the first priority we are always trying to solve. But good news is that majority of requests, that is 90% of requests, are less than 100 milliseconds. And that's the key reason that why you don't feel any sudden jerk movement or anything, whenever you are using Twimbit platform. Whereas if you go to any government portal or any banking site, I don't want to call the individuals, but yes, they are spending too much on technology, but they don't focus on this individual thing. They build technology like, okay, let's build a technology, but they don't build technology from the fundamental strand, thinking these things. and it really damages the user experience. So I would like to start with the front end first, right? The main goal for us is every action needs to be less than 100 milliseconds. So we have our own front end, Twimbit.com, which is the primary discoverable service that people usually use. And then on mobile, we have m.twimbit.com that's automatically switching between depending upon what device you are using. And the m.twimbit.com is actually a progressive web app. We don't have a native app, and that's for a reason. We are adopting a new technology, this progressive web app, which actually makes the website more close to a native app, in which there is no loading as such whenever you shift between pages. This is called single page applications. Tech people would be knowing that. And we are powered with React. Then the PW itself is a service worker running front end, which means that every content that a person is trying to fetch is cached on the person's phones itself. So if we visit the results again and again, we are not consuming your data so much, and it's just very good research without any cost on the data. And then our CDN is also applied so that the media price reaches as fast as possible without the limitation of wherever you are. Then to support all this architecture, this was just the front end, but to support all this architecture, we are actually using a technology called as microservices. So there are two ways by which you can create architectures of software, which is monolithic and microservice. And there are special segments which are monolithic into embedded systems, and we are trying to break them down on microservices as well. But major functions like payments or subscriptions or making a new account or tagging the content, all of these are independent microservices. There are two advantages to this. So first of all, the individual module, we can measure the performance and use the 100 millisecond rules on individual microservice. And the second one is, if one goes down, it doesn't affect the whole service. As you guys know, like a couple of days ago, we got a news that Fastly was down, and for that reason, almost 100% of news websites were down because of this reason. And a lot of other Twitter was down, Stack Overflow was down, GitHub was down, but Twimbit wasn't down, just because of this particular reason, that we had a microservice architecture and we distribute the stack. Like you that's true. But what was the main reason? That we don't have a vendor lock-in. And what that prevents us to do is that we have distributed our microservices on different vendors, sometimes the same microservice on 2 or 3 different vendors. So let's say AWS goes dark, we still have Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure or DigitalOcean supporting it. So if any of these things goes down, the other one is still there to support that. So the architecture, the whole thing cannot go down in dark as well. Then another thing that is very important to us, I'm a firm believer of this notion that is build versus buy, and I'm always trying to take the buy side more, because what we are here to do at Twimbit is to make the life of discovering and shaping the research easy. Sometimes you have to kind of mold this wheel again, but not every time you have to reinvent the wheel. So what we rely on is some very reliable partners that are used by big enterprises, and we kind of offshore most of our load to these third-party services, which are ready-made solutions, and they provide very optimum performance. They are customized to our needs, whatever we want to do. Some example of them are how we use search from Algolia, we use identity from Auth0, and we use notification system from GetStream. So all of them have independent lowest latency possibilities, which provides a very fast track way of developing new features. And then the core fundamental is our CMS that is powered by open source technology, WordPress. And it just kind of makes the life of creation of content and managing content very easy. But in a nutshell, whenever you click on one button, it's kind of calling 100 of API calls, which every one of them is trying to reduce the latency by 100 milliseconds so that you see the results with before you blink your eye. So that's the whole architecture from top to bottom. And then there are some blogs that we usually write that will give you more detailed orientation around like what the technology stack is. But I think in constraint of time, that was the simplest way I could explain what's. I don't know, Jesse, how much do you think you know now?
No, I think I need to list it down, follow up, and then follow up with you. And I think like our listeners as well, like they should go on to Twimbit Club create a thread, Aman, and then like they can ask you, then they can learn more, get directly connected to you to really
Yeah,
understand.
of course. If they don't ask for API credentials, I'm fine with answering any of those, because anyways, we are using a lot of technologies are open source. Few
Yeah.
of the projects that we make, and we think that it can change other fundamental companies as well. We try to make that project open source, and people have been using it. One common example is how we have modified discourse to make it more appealing. And then we created this theme. One of our engineers, Shalini, actually did that. Then we created an integration between Monday and WordPress. That was a fundamental uh, tool to use for content publishers and managing the content. And Siddhant, Gaurav, and Shalini again worked on that project as well. So a lot of projects that we are creating we are just giving back to the community. Like, we are using open source ourselves as well. So that's the key. And if they want to join discussion club, is the right place. I'm always available. Our engineers are always available, and we have a 15 days release schedule, and every 15 days I try to come up with at least 5 features what we have released to Twimbit. So our listeners can stay tuned to our subscription to get these updates as well.
Yeah, you guys heard it first. I mean, like, to reach Aman, go to Twimbit Club, okay? Not plugging anything, but I am. No, but anyway, I love how just now you mentioned that, like, when Fastly was down, Twitter was down, all the news media was mostly down, but Twimbit was alive, right? And that's where the $1 million question is, right? So obviously we are disrupting the research industry, and we are on track to building a name for ourselves, and people are starting to take notice of it, right? But I want to know, like, what's next for us, because we obviously have a very robust tech stack thanks to Aman and the team. Where are we going? Like, in the business side of things, like in the business side of me really wants to know, like, what's next for us, our technology.
Yeah. So one of the key fundamental thing that Pasi also touched upon is how can we make the whole technology feel like no code or low code for people who don't know and who don't want to understand technology, or who don't need to understand technology, like research people or decision makers, or people who are trying to make next sales call or something. So they want to get directly into the research. How can we make the tool so easy for them that it's just a clicks away to integrate these solutions to their own systems? So building those integrations for non-tech people. And at the same time, I think what we are doing is that whatever fundamental fabric of this technology we have built, we can share with the open world. By there are some database as a service, software as a service. So I think we are more inclining towards research as a service or knowledge as a service kind of systems machines. Over the time, I think by the end of the year, we'll be releasing our first beta of our API. Then Twimbit as a API. What this means is that even if people don't want to use Twimbit front end, which is for subscriptions, they can use our technology architecture, our cloud, to just use everything that we are doing in Twimbit just from a headless API fashion. And I think that will open up new possibilities. I can't wait to see people what they'll be building with it, like smart TV apps, smart speakers for Twimbit that answers research questions, or a smart fridge that tells you about some nutrition facts based on some research or something. I don't know. I am waiting to see those deep dive possibilities, but that's the way to go, that we are building some fundamental fabric onto the whole knowledge as a service, and then it will be opening it to the world, and we can't wait to see what they'll be actually doing with it.
Yeah, when you say that, like, the business side of me is like ka-ching, 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 like money. I'm kidding. Okay, Patsy, what do you think?
Oh man. Well, I think there are two fundamental things we have to focus on, right? Obviously, we've come a long way. We've learned. We've grown. One thing is the anywhere, everywhere concept. Okay, the way we are building our platform has to be so accessible that people are able to use it in any environment. It's not about, hey, bring your device wherever you want anymore. It's not that. That world is gone. Now it's about, hey, you can carry any environment with you that you want. Okay, for example, let's say Accenture as a company, they're doing their onboarding through virtual reality right now, right? So it's just bring your own environment anywhere, anytime. right? That is how we want to give the power to all users, all creators, all influencers on the Twimbit platform, right? And the second thing is, and this is more on the big purpose index. We have to build technology and stay focused in helping people move from me to we. Okay, that is where the entire stakeholder economy comes into play. The benefit has to be well distributed amongst vendors, customers, employees, shareholders, and the planet. Okay, so technology has to be built in a way where it does good to a larger cross section of the world rather than a few. These two things, I think, if we keep up with the anywhere, everywhere concept and the larger cause, these two things we do, we're on the right track.
Awesome, guys. So that's I think that has really helped me understand how technology better. And I don't want to waste any of your time. Like, go back to build the tech, go back to build a platform.
so that the money ringing can never stop in your ears, huh?
Yes. That's what it is. That's what it is. Awesome. So thanks for joining me in the conversation today. I really enjoyed myself. I hope that our listeners get to know a little bit more. And if you guys have any other questions, always reach out to Ahmad and Pasi on Twimbit Club. Again, sign up through LinkedIn. That's how it works. And yes, hope to bring you more of this conversation in the next episode of Twimbit Tales. Awesome.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Aman. See you guys.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy. Have a good one.